The reason I hate night shift as a cop is not because of the late work, but because of the dark nights of the deep forest and its environment does. I am a night shift officer in a deep woods over the night. My job was simple, just to keep an eye on the people who were overspeeding on a gravel path. It wasn't an exciting job. Most nights I used to spend reading books and watching some movies in my car. I usually received some calls from the nearest station ordering me to catch any thief in a forest or from a near place from it. At that time I used to be happy because that was a good excuse to vent crowded because I used to become so tired sitting alone in car at 3 am with dark and silence and a weird feeling of fear that creeps me out. Because of this, all I went to a 2-day sick leave so I can came back with more energy. After coming back, I saw another person because the company have hired another person in replace. He then said to me, "Now I realize why you were creeped out." I gave him a smile and said, "You will be used to it after some time. Just carry a book with you next time." Meanwhile, the next week I was having only one night shift, so I thought I should take Daniel with. Daniel was the person who was hired by the company in replace of me. I asked him and luckily he agreed, so we reached. We were watching a horror movie when we received a call from the nearest station. The person who used to call from the station was a serious man. He never used to do fun at that time. The time was around 3 am. He informed us that a thief has entered to an old factory near the station, trying to steal some old machinery, and now he is stuck there. Me and Daniel laughed and say, "We are going there." We started the car and went to the factory. Factory was divided into 4 parts. Me and Daniel thought we should go and check different buildings. I tell him to keep his radio on so we can communicate in any situation. We both went into different directions, which was my biggest mistake. After a while, I heard the Daniel screaming my name for help. Without wasting any time, I went to him. Meanwhile, I was thinking someone has attacked him. My heart started racing and finally I reached to him. But he was alright. When I asked about his scream, he laughed on me and said, "I have you pranked." I was angry on him. I thought he was in major trouble, but he wasn't. I again went to find the thief. Factory was closed nearly a decade ago. All the pipes, doors and machinery inside was rusted. I was just thinking that why any person would steal this machinery. Before going deep in the building, I decided to call in the department and called a backup because something inside was telling me that this place isn't safe. I went inside from a broken window. Every step of mine was creating a weird ego in the whole empty building. Both buildings were having 3 floors. I said, "Police, if anyone is inside then came out." I started searching every room. Daniel radioed me that he had completed his ground floor and now he is going towards first floor. I said him not to rush and search properly, but then I don't receive any answer from the radio. I call him twice and suddenly radio alive again. It was Daniel saying, "I have seen something." My heart drowned. I said, "What was it?" Daniel said in a low voice, "At the end of the hallway someone's hand has came out." I asked him whose hand. He said, "The hand is calling me towards him." Without wasting any time, I said him, "Don't even try to go there. Try to escape, I am coming." I started going to other building. I was telling myself maybe someone has stuck there, but from the inner heart, I knew that nothing is safe. I was going to the next building. My heart getting faster every second, but I was telling myself that it would be any person or most probably a thief, nothing else. And suddenly a scream echoed through radio. It was Daniel, screaming my name. I asked him terrified, "What happened, Daniel?" His breath wasn't under control. He said, "Here's a man, someone is watching me." This time without wasting a single second, I ran with full power. The next building door was in front. I break it and went into the building. I immediately went on the first floor. The hallway door was locked. I first tried to break with my gun, but it didn't break. Then I tried to break it with my kicks. I started kicking so hard that first my knife and then my teaser dropped from my belt. And finally the door broke. I entered the hallway. It was dead silence there. I kept the gun in my hand. Hallway was fully dark, but a light was glowing at the end room and a human shadow was coming visible on the door. I called to Daniel, but no answer, only a giggle which was getting louder. I thought he was Daniel, playing a prank on me again. My whole fear converted into anger. I screamed on him for this kind of a childish act. He said him come back later after these dramas, but his shadow was standing so unnaturally, like someone is dancing. I went out from the building till the time the backup came. I sit in their car and say them to drop me to the station. They asked about the Daniel. I said he will come later in our car and left. The next morning he didn't came. I thought he is maybe ashamed for his prank, But he didn't came the next day also. Now we became worried and some officers and me went to the factory. Our car was still there. When I went when I went on the hallway, I saw every officer afraid there. They didn't say anything. I saw a line made from blood going to the last room of the hallway where I saw his shadow. I went there and then I saw Daniel. His dead body was hanging. But he wasn't just dead. Something that was so terrified happened with him that my soul got scared. He was hanging from a pulley system by his own veins. And that was the moment I realized the shadow was him and he was already dead before I reached there. And someone else was laughing while he was just hanging there like a puppet. This was happened around 2005. I used to work in a night shift at a hotel. The hotel was near a beach. Because of its location, many guests used to stay there, but in winters very few guests used to come. At that time, the prices were very less than usual. That's why many drug addicts and criminals used to stay there to hide, so we have to stay very active at that time. This was the time of December. Like every night, I came, count the cash, and after 10 minutes, my friend and a co-worker named Smith came there. His first task was to go grab some food for us. I was in the back office counting the cash to give him so he can buy food for us. While counting the cash, I heard a bell sound, means someone had come to the hotel. When I entered through front door and entered the reception, I saw Smith laying on the floor. Before I could understand something, a man holding a steel pipe attacked on my jaw. I went down on one knee. My mouth was full from the blood. Before I could handle it, the man attacked on my head from a steel pipe. I was almost unconscious, but I remember him saying, "Smith ran away." After that, I only remember him running and another man was with him, which also escaped. I somehow managed to stand up and dial 911 to call the police and ambulance. When I was asking them for help, the blood covered my whole face. When the call ended, I saw Smith coming with a policeman. Afterwards, I came to know that there were two attackers that came here. Their planning was that one man will beat me badly with the steel pipe and the other man will stop the Smith from escaping. But the other attacker got scared and froze there and failed to stop Smith from escaping. So Smith quickly ran outside and luckily stopped a police car. So he came with the policeman. This was the most lucky thing happened to me. Otherwise that can be the last night of my life. They immediately take me to the emergency room. The severity of my injury was so extreme. I went to the hotel and people told me about what they saw in the camera footage. I thought he attacked me only one time with the pipe, but it wasn't the truth. Because of the unconsciousness, I didn't remember, but we can clearly saw in the video that the attacker was continuously attacking on me with the pipe. And I was trying to stop him and grab the pipe from him, but he was attacking me. I think he attacked more than 10 times. After this incident, I was so terrified from the night shift jobs. Every night I was so scared in the hotel. But after some times, luckily I got a job in morning shift and I went there. The worst part is that police can't find the both men. When this happened, I was nearly in my 20s. I live in Australia and I used to work at a gas station. The station is located in a small town near a river. That river was very famous for its creepy stories. I think everyone in that town knows at least one story about that river. When I started this night shift job, my boss told me some weird things, or you can say weird rules to follow. Like if I saw any shadow in the cameras, never follow it. Sometimes lights will flicker, he said, just to ignore the shadows and sit in the back room until a real customer arrives. When I asked him about this all, he simply replied, because these aren't real customers. These are not your friends, or if you try to follow them, anything weird can happen with you. After hearing this, I started my first shift. As I was a new worker, so company hired another worker for me. His name was David. This was a good advantage for me. But what happened to me that night, I wasn't ready for it. Till 2 am, everything was fine. Nothing unusual happened. But after 2 things started getting weird. The lights flickered, radio became static. But the most terrifying that happened was me and David can clearly saw a figure in cameras near the station. He was roaming here and there, but he went out from that station. Basically he went into dark because there were no streetlights on the road, but when any car came the shadow became visible because of the car's headlight. But David was acting like he didn't see anything. When a customer came to the counter for payment, he told me something scared me more that night. He said, "I just had my first ghost car experience. I saw its tail lights and then they suddenly disappeared. There's some really creepy stuff happening out in the bush tonight." After hearing it, I decided to quit this job permanently because I couldn't continue that more. After I went that town again after months to meet my friend And there I saw David. I thought I should ask him about that station. He started talking about him, and what David told me about that place, I just completely lost my mind. I asked him what happened. He replied, I saw that shadow that used to move here and there daily. But then shadow talked to me. At that time while saying David was so uncomfortable and I can see tears in his eyes when he say, the shadow started calling my name exactly in my mom's voice and she was gone a decade. Then he tells me that he quit that job 2 weeks later after me because he cannot bear this all more. Afterwards, more people joined our conversation. Everyone was telling their experiences. Everyone tells about that place. After that night, I became interested in these paranormal activities. I understood that these things can be explained. I started practicing the skeptic tools. But I cannot be able to understand that gas station and that place. But I knew some paranormal entities lived there.